Steve's plane must be grounded. Mother, I won't be having any dinner tonight.
No dinner?
No.
Oh, don't be silly. Where do you think all that strength comes from? Those gods? No, from my cooking.
I have to help Steve. He's waiting at the airport and there are no planes.
Look, you're not so smart that you can't take a mother's advice. Now, this is no kind of a night for you to be flying around in that outfit of yours.
Mother.
This is the kind of a night for you to watch TV or read the newspaper, eat your roughage.
But the fate of the free world depends on me.
All right. Eat first. Save the free world later. You can't be a decent martyr on an empty stomach.
This can't wait. The nation needs Wonder Woman.
And what about Wonder Woman? Does the nation care what she needs? Like a fellow, for example, huh?
Please, Mom, not now.
Oh, sure, not now. Never. How do you expect to get a husband flying around all the time?
Wonder Woman, who knows she has the strength of Hercules, who knows she has the wisdom of Athena, who knows she has the speed of Mercury, and who thinks she has the beauty of Aphrodite.
Away, you vision of enchantment. You've got a job to do.
Wonder Woman.
Wednesday.
Welcome, my friends, to a very special episode of Wonder Woman Wednesdays. Back when I started this podcast, I came across an article written by Sean McHugh about Ellie Wood Walker, who portrayed Wonder Woman in the often maligned William Dozier Proof of Concept. You've probably seen it on YouTube, a 5-minute film made by the folks who brought you Batman, called Who's Afraid of Diana Prince. When Sean joined me on my podcast to talk about the Bushwhackers episode with me, he offered to connect me with Ellie. He did, and she was kind enough to give me a phone interview. Now, the audio quality is what you might expect from a phone interview, but hey, just enjoy the conversation like you're listening in on the extension phone in the den. And just a couple of notes about the interview. We recorded it a while back, and she talks about possibly going to the Mid-Atlantic Nostalgia Convention in 2024, but because the convention hotel closed down, NostalgiaCon has been postponed to 2025. Now, hopefully, Ellie will be there. And we also talked about her former husband, Robert Walker Jr., and we talk about his connection to Hollywood royalty, but we never mention that the role he might be best known for among my fellow geeks is Charlie Evans from the original Star Trek episode Charlie X, about a troubled teenager with immense psionic powers. But back to business. We're not here to talk about Charlie. So, my friends, here is the one and only Ellie Wood Walker, right here, right now on Wonder Woman Wednesdays.
I guess that's my first question. Should I call you Ms. Wood? Ms. Walker? Ellie? How should I call you?
Just Ellie.
Okay, great. So, Ellie, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I sure appreciate it. So I found out that you were going to be at NostalgiaCon last year, and I got excited. I wanted to go and meet you and interview you, and then it turned out I couldn't go. And as far as I know, I don't think you wound up going either. Did you go to NostalgiaCon last year?
Well, I didn't make it either.
Oh, okay. Now, do you have any plans to try to go to any other conventions or anything like that?
No, I've been in touch with the maestro, whoever orchestrates this, gets all the people together. I don't have his name right on the tip of my tongue, but I plan to go. I think they're changing not the venue, the place, but the date. I think was going to be October, September, something like after the summer. But now it's going to be in August. So I'm not sure if that will change me, but I semi-plan to go.
Well, great. Hopefully me and some of your fans could see you there.
Fans?
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, it's kind of amazing because, this old Who's Afraid of Diana Prince thing, turned up on YouTube, And people that are Wonder Woman fans, people that are interested not only in the comic book, but especially the TV show and the movies, you know, you have sort of, it's been revealed that you are the first live action Wonder Woman. And even though that film didn't go on the air, people have seen it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the first live action Wonder Woman. So you have that claim to fame that nobody can take away.
Well, that's amazing. I never thought of that. It was so long ago.
Yeah. Well, you've had an interesting career, and that's one of the delightful things that, you know, people have seen that and now they're curious about you. I certainly am. And so I've been sort of trying to find out information. I read this wonderful article by Sean McHugh, who was kind enough to help me get in touch with you. And the article, you know, had a lot of interesting stuff, not just about the, you know, Who's Afraid of Diana Prince, but, you know, the fact that you come from Maysville and you were, I guess your mom, I'll just start at the beginning. So your mom he mentioned in the article she was known as the Twilight Lady. She did storytelling.
Yes, she had a radio show. We had a small little radio station in Maysville, and she read stories, had a children's hour every evening, early evening. And then she had a woman's show in the morning. And actually her one of her co-workers was Nick Clooney, who Father George.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, so they were always friends. They kept their friendship through all the years till my mama left this planet at the age of 99. It's been a few years. But Nick was always so darling to my mom and a very handsome intellectual.
Oh, fantastic. Now, and you, when you were growing up there, according to Sean's article, you were known by, you know, the folks who knew you as very graceful and lovely, and you were a musician. Tell me about, and you were a prom queen, too.
Yes, I was shocked out of I was so surprised. That was really a shock. But I started, we moved from, my daddy was a Kentucky gentleman, had graduated from the University of Kentucky with a law degree and went to California to seek his fortune. And he went into real estate, and his partner swindled him out of everything. They had most of Wilshire Boulevard. It was quite a successful business. So he lapsed into alcoholism and depression. So my mama somehow got him to move back to Kentucky, his home state. She figured maybe that would snap him out of it. So we moved back to Kentucky when I was 5 years old. And that's where I grew up there. It was a tobacco, it's right on the Ohio River, which is a huge river, a beautiful river. And our house was right on the river, so it was a great upbringing, actually. All of schooling there and everything started, I guess, in the third grade. We had the music teacher at the high school, the band leader, started all the kids in third grade. So I started clarinet in the third grade all the way through high school into the high school band, and we had music competitions. The band would go to Lexington, Kentucky, where the music festivals took place, and we usually did very well. It was a great upbringing, you know. I wish all kids could start playing music at such a young age and, you know, carry it through all their schooling years, their grade school. We had the Brown Dance Studio, and my mom started me in dance classes when I was pretty much when we got there. So I danced all through my life in Maysville also.
Wow.
It was a great upbringing.
Wonderful. And what led you to choose Northwestern University?
Because of the WAMU show. It was a annual. You had to audition, and it was sort of like quasi Broadway sort of thing, with original songs and little review sketches, and that was the main reason. And the theater department was. I was really into. You could call it showbiz. I wasn't a Chekhovian actress type. I was more like Siskumba. I was a cheerleader all my life in high school, and then at Northwestern I was a cheerleader too. I was sort of, what would you call it? Just a bouncy one. Probably a little empty-headed too. Just all around, but that's why I chose Northwestern because of its theatrical reputation, great reputation.
And so the next thing I know about you is that you became a June Taylor dancer. Could you connect the dots for me, like from Northwestern? How did you get there?
Well, my best friend, she was a dancer, and she was a year ahead of me, and she was leaving. And my boyfriend at the time was Warren Beatty, actually. He came to Northwestern. And he was leaving, too. So my two best friends were leaving, and so I decided not to graduate and just go to New York. With my best friend Lenore Harris, we found an apartment and started taking dance classes at the June Taylor Dance Studio, and that's how we became June Taylor dancers. Not for long, but
okay. Now, if I can take a step back, you just said that you were dating Warren Beatty.
Yes, he came to Northwestern. As I think he only did his freshman year. I was a couple of years older than him. So Warren was, and I heard all about him from my friend Nancy Dussault, who had gone with him in high school in, I guess, Virginia. I forget the city, somewhere back in the southern, like near Kentucky. Anyway. So I'd heard all about him. So he arrived, and he was just the most handsome, charming fellow you could hope to meet. And he did the Woman show too.
Oh wow!
So yeah, we went together. Actually, I remember we drove back to Kentucky for Thanksgiving vacation. He came to my mom and dad's house. And we all celebrated Thanksgiving there. But then he came to New York, and it was pretty much, he went his own. We went our separate ways. It didn't work.
Right. And so you were at the June Taylor Dance Studio, and did you wind up on the Jackie Gleason show with the dancers, or were there?
No, I wasn't a constant. I did some. Industrial shows. She had there were dancers for that, like industrial car shows and stuff like that.
Okay.
But nothing very. I was sort of the one who would drop the hat or make the great mistake. So I was. But then I got into a lot of summer stock. And, of course, in New York, I studied with Lee Strasberg and got too involved in the method. It wasn't, I should never have gotten into that. It got too psychological and too dark. But in the meantime, the summer stock was great. I went to Hyannisport, Cohasset, Sacandaga, Fishkill, New York, a lot of summer stock. And I loved it. It was with orchestras and it was just wonderful, and you do do a show in a week, and then you'd be rehearsing for the next show. It was sort of the highlight of life in a way as a young aspiring performer.
And so somewhere in there, you made the transition to, you married Robert Walker in 1962. Is that correct?
I don't remember the year, but we did get married, that's for sure.
Okay. And how did you meet him?
Well, Peter Fonda he was an apprentice at Fishkill, New York, where I was doing some musicals. And so we got to we became good friends. So then we were both back in the city, and he called me one night and said, hey, can you come over? I'm over at my dad's apartment, and he gave me the address. He said, there's somebody here I want you to meet. And it was Bobby, and that was sort of it. It just clicked. Wow. We just clicked. And you might say I won't go into that, but we did get married. We got on the train to Long Island and got married by the Justice of the Peace, and came back. And Bobby's mom, who was married to David O. Selznick, Bobby's mom, they had a suite at the I forget, some fancy hotel. And we went up there after we got married, and Jennifer his mom had a cake for us, so we had a little celebration. And
fantastic.
That was, so I sort of moved into, you might call it Hollywood royalty, because David O. Selznick being, produced one of the great movies of all time, and Jennifer Jones winning an Academy Award in a film, and just it was sort of like maybe it was all a dream, and maybe all this is a dream too,
Yeah.
Living the dream.
Yeah. And then from there, shortly after that, just a couple of years, you wound up in this film with all these young stars, Barbara Eden, Dawn Wells, Greg Morris, Telly Savalas, the New Interns. How did you wind up in that film?
Well, my friend George Firth, who was a senior when I was a freshman, directed the first show I was in, a musical called The Allegro. And George had then gone on to L.A. and had some kind of influence, you might say. He ended up writing musicals with a few with Stephen Sondheim, actually, becoming very successful. But back then, I guess he suggested me he was in the movie called The New Interns. He suggested me for the part of his wife, who was living in the dorm with him in the doctor's quarters secretly. So it was through George that I got that part. Well,
wonderful.
The director accepted me or something.
Mm.
So that was
and so do you recall that shoot? I know there was, I just watched the movie, and aside from all the great stars that were in it, there is a wild party scene, this crazy party that happens. It's actually your character's baby shower that turns into this bacchanal. Do you remember that shoot at all?
Vaguely, very, very vaguely. I don't remember that too well. I remember the scene where we're kind of confronted and the lady's smoking. But I remember.
Oh, that's right. She keeps blowing her smoke in your face.
I'd love to see that movie now. It's been, I don't know, 50, 60 years ago. something like
It's
that.
yeah, but it's it's on YouTube, so anybody can watch it. It's right there. I looked for it on streaming services, but YouTube has it. It's not a great quality print, but it's there, and it's a terrific little movie.
Oh, I'll check it out.
Yeah. So after that, did you decide to stick around in LA?
Well, that was where Bobby. Actually, we lived in the village for a while, but in all this sort of, let's see, I had 2 children at the time I did
right.
the interns. I had
Okay.
2 children. We didn't know anything about protection. Like not, we didn't even. I don't know. We were just not in. We weren't aware of a lot of things. We were just sort of living. I don't know. What you would call it? We were just ignorant. Ignorance, I would call it.
Well, it's bliss, right? Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. And all the people that want to have children, and here I was just sort of making babies, like just like it's part of what you do.
Yeah.
But all the kids, they've all turned out beautifully, and 3 of them live here in New Mexico, where I live, and so I got to see them a lot. And then my 4th child is a doctor, married to a doctor in San Francisco, and also Modesto. So they want me to come and live with them because I am becoming an ancient creature. But I'm pretty much living my own life on my own, and I really love it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I just as long as I can, just so I don't fall down the ladder. I go up and down the ladder to the loft a lot, and sometimes I fall, and sometimes I've fallen. So I have to be a little more careful so I don't incapacitate myself.
Yes, please do. So after the new interns, and you've already got at least 2 kids, you get the opportunity. I think Sean said in his article through David O. Selznick, suggesting you for it, you get to do this Wonder Woman piece. And can you just tell me a little bit about that? You said before that it all took place in one day. It was a 1-day shoot, so it was pretty quick.
Yeah, it might have been 2 because I remember that it was a huge sound studio, and they rigged me so that I could, from the rafters, so that I could fly. But it's so funny because I saw that, and they didn't show me flying, which is too bad after all that, getting rigged and getting the suspenders on, or whatever you call them, and being lifted way high. I think you see my feet leave the ledge or something, but it didn't show me flying, which is too bad because that would have been fun to to fly through the air. Yeah, that was just there's a lot of clouds there that I'm not seeing everything that clearly about that day, except parts of the shoot, like where I'm reading the newspaper and can't seem to hold on to it. And a couple of, but I didn't think I was that funny, and that was the point, was that this was the funny Wonder Woman.
Oh, well, I think you actually succeeded in that. I think it's very funny, and I thought you were funny in the new interns too. I think you have a great sense of comedy.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So after the Wonder Woman thing, you did just a few small roles. I wanted to ask you about Targets, which was this Peter Bogdanovich film in 1968. It was a year after the Wonder Woman film, and you play the woman on the freeway. who I believe gets shot. Is that right?
Yeah, well, Peter, somehow Peter and Polly, his wife, we were all up at David and Jennifer's house for a dinner. So I got to meet them and talk with them. It was just the 6 of us, I guess. Jennifer, David, Bobby, me, and Peter and Polly. And then this film came up, and I guess he called and asked if I would want to, do a little extra part in it. And I said, sure. I was up for anything, ready to work, because in that time that we lived in California, there an actor studio opened there, the extension of the one from New York. And so I did a lot of auditions there to get into the studio, which I finally did. I did finally, and Lee was there. He was one of the, Lee Strasberg and Lee Grant were a couple of the judges. And so during that time, I did get into the studio, so I got to do some acting there, some work, just trying to grow as an actress.
And tell me about that, because I'm not sure non-actors really understand. And I'm a sometime actor, and I kind of understand. But when you say the actors studio, it's sort of, is it like part school, part studio theater? How does it work? Do you study there and do performance, or what do you do?
Exactly. You do work on original plays by members or not members. You do scenes. You do scene studies from any. You can choose whatever you want, whatever play you want to do, or a musical. And then you do sensory exercises some days, like one day a week. That was in these private classes. I didn't go to the studio much, but mostly it's just, working on your technique and becoming the best you can be as an actor.
So is it the kind of thing where you graduate, or is it the kind of thing where you can just stay there and keep developing and keep working on your craft?
Yeah. Once you're a member, you're a lifetime member, and you can keep forever into eternity.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's great. And so you got to do this film, and just to get back to Target's Woman on the Freeway, one of the pieces of trivia about that film were that Peter Bogdanovich did not have permits to shoot. So the freeway scenes, which I assume that you were part of, they had to be done quickly so that you wouldn't get busted.
Exactly. And when I did run around to the door and got shot, cars were going by, and a couple of them stopped because they saw me, fall down. And I jumped in the car, and we got away quickly before, they would. Well, I don't even know if there were cell phones back then. I don't think there were.
No, I don't think so. Maybe some car phones.
Yeah, maybe. But people were going to help, I guess.
Uh-huh. Wow. But Peter got his take, apparently. So in spite of the Good Samaritan.
Yeah, it wasn't like do it again. That was it. One take.
So the next film that's listed for you is Easy Rider. You were a mime in that. And I will confess, even though this is an American classic, I have yet to see Easy Rider. So can you tell me a little bit about doing that film?
Well, we were friends with Dennis and Brooke, Dennis Hopper and Brooke Hayward, who were married at the time. And we hung out with them quite a bit. And then this film, and of course Peter. So it was just, they asked us to, ask needed to play that little part of, in the mime in the mime troupe who came through to the commune that was near the hot springs.
Uh-huh.
And they did a mock-up of New Mexico in Malibu Hills, right above the ocean. And at that time, Bobby and I were living on the beach. Bobby's mom generously bought us a beach house. And so we were living there. And we just... and Bobby had a bit of a nicer little part. But we both got to work up there, and the kids were in it too, sort of running around.
Oh,
and
great!
It was a good setup, really. So, just small parts, just having to do with the commune.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the last movie credit that's shown for you for a while. So tell me what was going on in the 70s. I know at some point you and Robert got divorced. But what else was going on?
Well, in I guess around late 60s, Bobby decided that he wanted to live a simpler life. And he'd heard about the Seychelles Islands. And so he'd done this film with this French company, and he had to do some dubbing in Paris. So we went with him, and from there we went down to Marseille and got a ship, all of us. And we went on that ship all the way around the tip of Africa and all the way up to Kenya.
Wow.
And the Seychelles are sort of off there in the Indian Ocean there, not that far from India or Africa. They're sort of in the middle of the ocean. Mm-hmm. And that's where he wanted us to go live.
Oh.
So I was a follow-along kind of person, and I didn't. He traded the beach house in for some wooden Norwegian sailing ship, handmade sailing ship that we never sailed. So we didn't have a home. So okay, why not go try out living in the ocean? And Indian Ocean. Well, I don't know what it's like now, but it looks like oceans aren't totally polluted yet, thank God. And the Indian Ocean is just the most amazing, beautiful creation on Earth. It's just the azure, the color of it, and the warmth of it, and just the beauty of it. So we ended up living on a coconut plantation, and we lived there for. Well, he just stayed a few months, decided he would go back to California. He wanted to buy an island because there are hundreds of little islands on that atoll. Mm-hmm. So he went back to California to try to get some work so he could buy an island and we could live on it. But sadly or gladly, he didn't get work. He'd become too eccentric. And like walking around barefoot, and he wouldn't do any films that had violence in them. And so we just lived our lives there with the kids, made friends with all these other kids. My daughter went to school, took a walk a couple of miles to school and back. Mm-hmm. And my other kids were a bit younger, so that was part of our life. And then by 70, we came back, and then Bobby didn't have any work and didn't have any money, so we ended up staying at Jennifer's had rented a beach house, and she had just gone to the Academy Awards with Frank McCarthy, who was up for Best Picture. He'd produced Patton, George C. Scott Patton. So she was in the audience, and I guess Norton Simon saw her. Norton Simon being some kind of rich mogul, and he wanted to meet her, and through his connections, he got hold of her and invited her out for dinner, and she went with him. And at that time, it was like she was pretty much down to nothing. She wasn't really working, and David O. had passed away a few years before, and she'd pretty much gone through all the money that he'd left her. She went out with him, and they got married the next week.
Oh.
So she let us, she had the house, she leased it for a year or something, so we had the beach house for a number of months.
Mm-hmm.
And but then still he had no work, and I was just being a mom.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up living in a pup tent up in Trancas Canyon.
Oh.
And he had ended up doing a movie with Leo Guerin, who was sort of some young hotshot young New York director who was making this film, and Bobby got a part in it. Actually, I've never seen the film, and I can't remember the name of it. Well, we were in the pup tent, a lot of rattlesnakes around, pretty dry. There was not much water running through that canyon.
Wow.
It's dry, living in a pup tent. But me always being the adventurous one, always ready for a new adventure. Okay, why not? Camping out's fun. But it got a little old after a while. And he got involved with one of the actresses that was in Leo's film. So that became, and that was sort of like the clincher. That was like, okay, I think I'm going to go home to my mama and my papa's and take my kids and just maybe start over somewhere else.
Yeah. So where did you go?
I went back to Kentucky with my kids.
Wonderful. Okay.
And so Bobby, there was not much resistance. It wasn't like, oh, please don't go stay. It was like, it might have been a relief for him. So we stayed with my mom and dad, and then I remembered that Dennis had said, come and visit anytime. I've got, lots of room there in New Mexico. You can come whenever you want. So that's what I did. I went to New Mexico. I was just going to go with I had a younger son, Charlie. I was just going to go with him, but my older son, David, just begged me to not leave him in Maysville with his grandma and grandpa. So I took him along. So I took the two boys, and Michelle was happy to stay with her grandma and grandpa.
Okay. And you said that was it Dennis Hopper that had this property out there?
Yes, he bought the Mabel Dodge Lujan house, which is this huge house. She'd come to Taos. She was a very, very rich, influential lady, and she met Tony Lujan from the Pueblo, and when they met, he said to her, "I dreamt you," and she said, "I dreamt you," and they had dreamt of each other. Wow. And they met, and they ended up marrying and building this house, this amazing house that's here now. That they have conventions and things there now, but it's just this wonderful house, and it's right next to the the sacred mountain, the Taos Pueblo mountain, which just makes Taos, even more interesting because there's so many cultures here. And one of them, predominantly, is the Pueblo Indians who are never moved or never taken from their land. They stayed, and so that's one of the wonderful things about the history of this place, the authenticity of it.
And you've been there ever since.
Yeah. So I've been here a couple of lifetimes.
Now, and according to the IMDb, you did a couple of brief roles. One for Dennis Hopper again. You were in Shattered Spirits in 1986, a TV movie.
Yeah, the Dennis film. I was a lady in the Volkswagen. We took up.
Oh, Catch Fire by Dennis Hopper. Yeah, you were in a Volkswagen van.
Yeah, me and my I guess my mate. Jodie Foster was on the highway when we stopped and gave her a ride to the police station.
Okay. Okay.
And it's just a small little scene. I get out, go into the police station with her, and then I ask her if she's going to be all right, and she says, of course. I never saw the film, though, so I don't know what else happened. I think it had a happy ending, though.
Mm-hmm. So around this time, between the late 80s and early 90s, were you did you get involved again in acting at all, or did you pretty much retire from that?
Well, I did a few things at the Taos Community Auditorium, some plays, the Sam Shepard play, The Two Brothers and the Mother. I forget the name of it. And then we did. We played the Tin Man and. Oh,
the Wizard of Oz thing. You were the Tin Man.
Yeah, just excerpts from it. I played the Tin Man.
Oh wow!
And we did some other things too. I've done so much, not a lot of theater, but then my son-in-law, my daughter Michelle, married an actor, and he has a small theater here in Taos, and I did some things there, and I did a couple of musical reviews with my daughter. She has a wonderful voice, and so we did singing and dancing performances, and I'm thinking about doing something else. You never know.
Yeah.
Never too late.
That's right. That's right.
And I sing a lot of. I just love to perform. It's just sort of. My mom put me into it at a very young age, and it took me, or something like that.
Yeah. It just grabbed you and took you where it would take you.
Yeah, exactly. So many. There's no business like show business. Now you've probably done so many shows that we haven't really talked about. What would you say was one of your favorite theatrical experiences? Oh, I think maybe The Boyfriend.
Oh,
it's an English musical. Here, I loved Wish You Were Here. Another musical that probably nobody knows about, but it was originally a Broadway musical, I think, but theater. And then when I was living in New York, I worked at a cabaret called the Julius Monk's upstairs at the downstairs. Estelle Parsons was leaving to do a movie, so I replaced her, and that was delightful. That was so much fun. That was a great review, sketches and songs, and with working with a lot of really talented people. So that was a highlight also.
Wonderful.
And then we did, that was when I was working with George, who became, as I said before, he's the one who got me the job in the new interns. But,
right.
Yeah, a lot of fanciful living. It was wonderful. I was just,
awesome.
I get the New Yorker every week, and I was just reading last week's article about Syria, what's going on there, and it's just they've got this camp with thousands of people of different, not necessarily just even different ethnicities, and it just sounds like what's happening there. It just sounds like it's like a nightmare that I shouldn't have read it, because what can I do? What can I do but be maybe saying prayers. If everybody prays for peace, maybe it could happen, but it just seems so distorted, and so I feel so blessed to be living in a Taos can be a dark place too, but nothing like this. And the U.S. is stationed in one part of Syria, and they bomb cities and kill children, and it's just like this country. I don't know. It's just we're so lucky, but we're part of a darkness too, that we would allow our truth to be, in the name of whatever. It's like I guess in the name of the war machine, big industry. I guess that's why it's so important. But I'm getting off the showbiz subject.
Well, I mean, in a way it's connected, because life can be discouraging. Life is hard, and sometimes it's ugly, and sometimes it's really discouraging. And I think, performers, you have a special place in the world where, through your movies, through doing these wonderful musicals and reviews, you uplift people, and you give them even just a moment of pleasure and hope and joy. And I think that's the wonderful thing about getting to be a performer. And I think it's important.
Well said. I agree. It's true. It is. You get a moment of joy or laughter or sadness from the heart.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, there's nothing like a great audience.
Yeah.
And you're an actor also.
Occasionally, yes. I did study theater in school, and but I still have my day job.
Right. But what is your day job?
Well, right now I'm producing commercials for a TV station.
Oh, all right. So
yeah, and it's my first job that I've gotten to use some of my skills that I learned in theater. Because I've directed and produced and acted and done set design, all the things, and so producing commercials uses a little bit of everything.
Right. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, a fellow thespian.
Yeah, that's right. And I wish I could. I think I know which Sam Shepard play you were talking about, but I couldn't think of the name either.
Darn it.
But yeah, but I hear. I mean, there's so many wonderful things that you've gotten to do. I've done theater, but I haven't really gotten to do film. And I was going to ask you, now that we're talking about it, because you mentioned, the joy of sort of having an audience, and that's the thing about theater. You can feel immediately how you're doing and how you're affecting people. And when you do film, you don't really know. until you're, unless you're sitting in the audience with them to watch the film.
Right.
And I have a feeling, I mean, it sounds like you kind of prefer the theater. You kind of prefer live performance because of that. But tell me about that.
Well, it's just the electricity and you get to play. You get like a play. You get to play. You play with the audience.
Right.
And it's just more. It's more alive. That's all. It's the highlight of life in terms of, I guess, cheerleading. All those years that I was a cheerleader. Oh my God! But it's like you're in front of a group and you're leading them in a song or a cheer, and sort of the same thing, except to a much lesser degree. If you're doing a musical or some of the wonderful musicals, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
It's just a gift. It's a gift from heaven, especially with an orchestra and just all of the. It's a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
I read about all the things that are going on in New York now. It's like, oh my God, theater is alive and well, and there's off Broadway, off Broadway. Not to mention Broadway itself. Like,
right.
Oh my God, I'd love to go see some of the shows now. Some of them sound so amazing. Theater will never die. So
Amen. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you on the phone for too long. I've kept you for almost an hour here.
Oh my God!
Ellie, and
having fun.
Well, good. I didn't want it to not be fun. So I just can't thank you enough, and I really appreciate it. And before I rush to end, is there anything else you wanted to say that you haven't said, or anything that comes to mind?
I've said more than enough.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ellie, I sure appreciate talking to you. Thank you so much for giving me your time.
Well, thank you for your interest and your time.
Well, I will, hopefully I'll talk to you again sometime.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you so much.
All right, you have a wonderful evening.
All right, I'm going to go walk my dog now.
Okay, sounds good. Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you so much, Ellie, for sharing your thoughts and memories with us. What a delight. Now listen, while we're on the subject of live-action Wonder Women who aren't Linda Carter, next month we'll have our crossover episode with The Real Guys to discuss Adrian Palicki and the bizarre 2011 unaired Wonder Woman pilot crafted by David E. Kelly. Stan the Man, Jackie O, and guest cosplayer Katie Maravilla will give you a little Real Guys energy as we describe this indescribable pilot. And in the coming months, we'll be starting up Season 2 of Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. A new network, a new era, and a new Steve? I hope you're looking forward to it as much as I am. And I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, and you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please take a moment to give a nice review. I hear it's good for the algorithms. In the meantime, be kind whenever possible. It is always possible.